Okay, we're doing something a little different on Comic Books Out of Context, because usually what I would do is I'd grab an old comic book and try to see if it makes sense, right? That was kind of the whole point. But this time I've got a comic book completely out of context because it was just randomly sent to me and I have no idea why. And I don't really know what it's all about, other than just sitting there and reading it. I got a plain white envelope in the mail. And there was nothing on it except an address label addressed to me with a return address of Sigma Comics. Didn't say anything else. So I opened it up, and inside is a comic to take a look at. Now, that's not all that uncommon. This happens quite a bit, actually, getting review comics. I either get PDFs by email, or I get a paper copy in the mail. Common. That's how comics get out to be reviewed. The difference is they usually come with some sort of press release or a letter from the publisher or the editor or the author. A lot of times it's the same person explaining why they wrote the comic or what they wanted to achieve by putting the comic together. A lot of times with information about when it's coming out. All sorts of information, when it's going to be in the Diamond catalog, stuff like that. In this case, the only thing that it came with was a business card taped to the back. So I have a comic book, and I don't know anything about it. There's no other information given other than that H.H. German is the creator, and he's Sigma Comics. Apparently their tagline is Justice for All. So, all right, we'll take a look at this. So, issue 1 of an 8-issue series, Here Comes Calico. And we've got our hero here on the front, and it just says run. So, apparently that's him speaking, and there's nothing else to do but open it up and read it, right? Now, I did read this, so I'm just going to kind of walk through my thoughts as I was reading this. First of all, I will say it smells like an old comic. It's newsprint with ink. It's kind of printed in that old style. It's got that Alterna Comics type smell to it. If you've read any of those, it's that classic comic book smell, which is a definite bonus right there. $2.99. Not a bad price for a modern comic. But just looking at the front, I mean, the cover's, striking portrait of the main character there. But again, doesn't really give you a whole lot, other than, I guess, the fact that he's mean and dark. Then on the back, we've got our Sigma, Justice for All. But then here was the first clue that something was up. We have this explicit warning on the back. And it says, rated M, 18 plus years old, explicit content. And that is correct. This is not a book for children. I can tell you that much right now. Opening it up, it's kind of jarring opening it up because on the inside of the front cover, there's an ad here for AmericanHumane.org. The American Humane Association, I think it is. These are the people that at the end of movies, when you see the credits and it says like no animals were harmed in the making of this film, those type people. They're not like say PETA, who are like if you own a pet, it's like having a slave. They're not like those people. They support service animals and things like that. They just don't want to see animals like hurt and abused and whatever. So you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, give them your support, and it's got the URL, and so you're like, okay, Sigma Comics supports American Humane. Okay, cool. Then you go to the next page, and it shows a dog being strangled and then having his head bashed in. And I can't show it. Like, I can't show you this page to show you, but it is in fact a dog getting strangled and getting his head bashed in, and we hear someone saying, please no, and there's an asterisk saying that is translated from Mandarin. Now, I know there are some parts of Asia where people eat dogs, and I don't know if this is supposed to represent someone who's doing this for food, or if this is someone doing it like is a red room on the internet, like a serial killer in training type of thing, if that's what's supposed to be going on here. But I can tell you that it's insanely graphic. It's definitely making use of that 18 plus disclaimer or warning or whatever, and it's definitely not for everybody. And then the next page, we have apparently our hero who lives in Red Hook, Brooklyn, it says. He's watching this on a videotape. Well, I say a videotape. That shows how old I am. He's watching this on a recording, and he's trying to figure out who it is who made this video. And he's got someone he's talking to online who's fed him this video. They're doing some research. They're trying to figure out who it was who recorded this so that Calico can go track them down and get revenge on them. And then he goes to a gym, and he's working on boxing and he's talking about his boxing moves. So I'm guessing the writer of this book, H.H. German, is someone who enjoys boxing, because he's writing a lot of information about boxing in here. So I'm guessing he is familiar with boxing. It goes back to him thinking about what it was like being a child, and thinking about instilling fear in people and instilling fear in bullies. So you have sort of that, Batman, Punisher, whatever, instilling the fear in somebody, if they're a villain. And then he grabs his suit. It says it's millions of dollars worth of technology. Every government in the world would love to get their hands on it. Too bad for them, that would never happen. And then he turns to this floating camera and says, Bumble, it's showtime. But there's never an explanation as to where this suit comes from. Who spent this millions of dollars? Is this guy a millionaire? Doesn't look like it. I mean, he's living in Red Hook. Doesn't seem like a guy who has a lot of money. So is there like a benefactor? Did he randomly find this? We don't know. It's never explained. There's plenty of opportunities, I think, in this story where there could have been some more character world building, and it's just not given. And I don't know if maybe that's something he's planning to do later on, because it does say on the cover that this is one of an 8-issue series, and perhaps in his mind he's thinking over the course of 8 issues he's going to expand upon all of this. But the problem is, in your first issue, you kind of need to establish some of this stuff. And without establishing some of this stuff, you're just kind of leaving these questions. And I'm wondering, are you writing? Let's see. How do I want to put this? I want to put this nicely, right? Because I don't want to be mean about this. But are you leaving intentional plot holes to be filled later? Or have you left these holes thinking that they don't matter? And I'll tell you that they do matter. These questions need to be answered, and they need to be answered fairly early to hit the ground running. If you're not going to answer them, then they need to be addressed in a way where someone's asking the question, and then within the story, not getting an answer. So that you're at least addressing it narratively, even if you're not addressing it within actually, explaining it to the reader. Because I'm sitting here looking at this going, what, like, why, how, what? And it's never given. And it just seems like either you didn't figure it out or you just didn't think it mattered. And to me, it just kind of feels a little lazy. But again, maybe that's something you think, hey, we're going to answer that in issue 3, and this is just issue 1. But the problem is, I don't know that. I'm at issue 1. I kind of wish some of that information was there. Now, we get a little further on in the book. He's tracking down some people who were apparently big game hunters. It shows somehow he knows that they tracked down this lion. She was with her cubs. They were going to sell the cubs to, on the black market to people who wanted illegal pets and things like that. And so they just wanted to kill this lion just so that they could. So he goes to their house, and of course his floating camera drone thing has gotten surveillance. He says that he doesn't eat meat, so I don't know if this is a vegan, vegetarian revenge comic, or if that's just a character trait he wanted to throw in there. I don't know, but again, I'm assuming that H.H. German, the writer of the story, I'm assuming that he is vegetarian at least. It talks about how he says, "I'm no meat eater, but I know that that's ostrich. Tenderloins go for $50 a pound," and he says it like it's a problem. I don't know. Is ostrich endangered? Is that an endangered species? Are you not supposed to eat ostrich meat? I didn't think so. But again, is he just mad at people for eating meat? I don't know. So it shows them, killing the lion. It shows the cubs being taken from the mom, being sold on the black market. It's very clear that these are bad people. These are not. Sometimes, for the sake of conservation, you do get to go big game hunting because you have to thin the herd. There have been stories every so often. You see someone on Facebook, some dentist, he went out and shot some big animal in Africa, and then people go out and protest and whatever, and it turns out, well, actually, that was part of the conservation effort, because sometimes, an endangered herd, in their efforts to reestablish them, they grow too quickly, and they're outgrowing the food source that they feed off of, and suddenly they can endanger the animals they feed off of, or the area that they feed from, that they graze from, and so you have to kind of trim the herd in order to keep them from destroying other parts of the ecosystem. You got to keep things in balance, right? But this is obviously not that, so they want to make that clear. So at least I appreciated the forethought that went into telling that part of the story. But we have our hero showing up with a box. He's having these people sign for it. And then it turns out that there's a letter along with the box, and it's apparently from their daughter, and she feels bad that she's killed so many animals, and she's torn to pieces by all the harm she's caused, and the parents don't understand. Why would she say that? Because that's not how they raised her. And when they get to the bottom of it, there are pictures of her dismembered body, and when they turn around, there is Calico in full uniform, and he's holding the severed head of their daughter. And he then chops off the arms of the husband, which makes him pass out. The wife passes out, and then he begins to torture them graphically for several pages. And this is where the bulk of the 18 plus comes from in this comic. These are pages I cannot share. There are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages here that are going along with this whole torture attack that he's doing, and these are I would almost put these at serial killer level torture. This is hostile level torture. This isn't like Punisher going in and being like, blam, 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 you're dead, revenge, whatever, walk away. This is maybe Garth Ennis. I guess you could say Garth Ennis Punisher would do this type of thing, but the type of stuff he's doing here is not the type of stuff that I was very comfortable reading. I'll put it that way. Yeah, these are bad people, sure. But the way that Calico, our hero, is acting towards them is not very heroic either. Honestly, it's not the type of thing that I would come back for. Even though these are bad people, I don't need this. I don't need 5 pages of this necessarily. We get to the end. He's back home. He's getting texts from Dog Mama is the character, talking about the research on this particular file shows that the subject is based in eastern China. They're working with somebody else there on the file. They're trying to figure out who it is, blah, 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 blah. But there's another file, and that person is going to be in New York City for his sister's twin sister's 40th birthday, and so he'll be able to get revenge on that person. And that's where the book ends. So there's going to be another revenge killing coming soon because someone else did something, some sort of torture to some animals, so he's going to torture them back. Here's part of my thing with this is when, say someone goes out and they do an illegal hunt, right? Like a big game hunt, and they're like, blam, they shoot the animal. Terrible people, okay? In no way do I endorse that. Do I say these are good people? Do I try to excuse it? I mean, definitely, yeah, that's a problem. But what he's doing back to them is worse than what they were doing. And so it again, it rises to the level where he's a serial killer with the way he's torturing and attacking these people. They went out and they hunted, they killed, and so now they are being horribly tortured. I have to say that the art here, artist and letterer Javier Orbach, I'm not sure how you pronounce this. It's good. It's very well done artwork. It's got kind of a classic style that you can tell. There's a couple spots where it looks like he kind of cheated a little bit. He did some digital zooms on his artwork instead of redrawing something, or he copied and pasted and reused the same frame a couple times, which fine, whatever. That's not that big of a deal nowadays, but a lot of his work has some pretty good detail to it. The characters all stand apart. There's no real confusion over who's talking or anything like that, so it looks really good. The coloring's good, the lettering's good. It's a very well done, very professional looking comic from front to back. The story is just a little too out there. If you're into torture stories, if you're into the Hostel movies, if you're into the Collector movies, those type of horror films that are all about the torture and the dismemberment, the mermaid, what's it, the Mermaid Fairy Saga or whatever it is from Japan. If you're into those type of movies and you want a comic that has that type of content to it, great. Here you go. Here's something for you. But it's just not the type of thing that I could recommend. And as far as being out of context, not knowing anything about it, going in and reading it, it was a little off-putting when I got to some of that stuff. The first page was very off-putting. Seeing the dog being strangled and having its head bashed in, that was not the type of thing that I wanted to see necessarily on the first page of a comic story. But again, our hero, for having this technology, this suit, this flying drone camera, getting this information from people, doing research into who's doing this torture and murder and stuff, we're not told anything. We're not given anything. We don't know anything. I can't really recommend this to anybody out there unless you're really into horror and the torture and the gore and you want to see that kind of stuff. But if you're not into that kind of crazy stuff, then I would give this one a pass. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.